Alrighty. I wish I'd have put on some different earrings. I can't even see that I have on any. And I wish I had cleaned up my desk better, but I didn't. So we're going to go with that. Right from earrings. I can't even see that I have on. Okay, so I know that I am live. Good morning to you. Yay. It is Monday, and Monday we are back. And I hope you had an amazing weekend. I hope it was great. Hope you got something good in. There is Stephanie, and we
Good morning.
think.
I know. Love it. Let me turn my light on.
Good morning.
Oh,
How are you this fabulous day?
I'm good. I am so good. Very good.
Excellent. And how was your weekend?
It was really good. Had fun.
Good.
Productive. And
I know it rained all day Saturday.
I could not get my groove back together. I feel like I went to sleep after we got off.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh,
I
Saturday.
slept a lot. I think I slept a lot Saturday.
Really? Okay. Look, it was good sleeping weather.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I'm not a daytime sleeper, so I was having to check, like, am I depressed? Is everything okay? What's going on? What's with my body? What are you needing? Made sure I was taking my vitamins. I was just having to do a check because I don't sleep during the daytime.
Okay. Well, you probably needed it because you're up at 3:30 and off and running. And do you get how many hours of sleep do you normally get at night?
I try to get into bed by 9:30. So I think 6, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, about 6 hours consistently. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I miss that 10 o'clock mark, then sometimes it's off. And then I think I told you that the day I had the wine, that throws me off too. So it's just like a slower type of day. I get that little element into my world.
Yeah.
And 6 hours.
I get it. I started drinking these things called cider boys. And cider boys are so good, but it's like it's like a cider, hard cider, but it's only 5% alcohol by volume, so which is not a lot,
right?
But and so I don't get a buzz or anything like that. Just little. I feel it a little bit, but not much. But even with that, I have to make sure that I'm conscious and mindful about what I drink or how much I drink and all that stuff. So, but I had a good time too. I went to a party this weekend.
Right, yeah, Saturday.
Yeah, but I was dealing with car stuff all Saturday morning, and it was just one of those days. Saturday was interesting, and then Sunday was cool. I was here all day yesterday.
Okay.
So it was good. It was good. Yeah, it was good. So I'm trying to think of what all I did yesterday.
Right.
Girl, I went outside. That's what I did. I went outside and I sat under my gazebo, and like an old person, I woke up because the guy next door was like, I don't know what he was doing with those garbage cans, but it's like, I know I had to be like sitting there with my jaw dropped and probably snoring, because I was like thinking like, wow, how long have I been out here?
It was good weather for that.
Yeah. So it was good.
Yeah. How'd your writing go?
The writing?
Yeah, the ink.
The early ink. So I did okay. You know, I see a lot of people who talk about how they get in, 300 words or get in 5,000 words or whatever. And even though it's a sprint, I don't ever find that I am getting that many words in, because what I'm usually doing is, what I'm trying to do right now is so I felt like I had my first draft. And so
Okay.
I'm going back through and I'm reading through and I'm kind of fleshing out ideas.
Okay.
So I'm really just kind of expanding upon the writing that's already there. And so my next step after I work my way all the way through the book is to print it out. And then one of the things that I heard, Abby, who is a mystery novel writer. She said that she says that she writes her first chapter, chapter 1, and she says, and then every other chapter is chapter next. So she says that after, and Rhonda was like, okay, so she was like, Abby is an anomaly. Most people don't write like her, but you know, she was like, that's not necessarily the way that, we're taught to write, but it works for her. And so Abby says by doing it, saying chapter next, she can take it like it's a compartment and she can move it around to
Yeah, I
where
was gonna say Abby writes like I outline. I put my outlines. I have different chunks of paper on my screen, and I'm like, now where am I gonna put that idea? That's how I do. I'll just gather this research, and then I make an outline from the work that I got, as opposed to making an outline and then going and get the information. Like, I kind of like her style.
Yeah, I
I'm not
thought it
quite
was.
sure where this is going.
I thought it was an interesting perspective to,
Uh-huh.
and that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about printing out my book, because what may happen is that once I lay it out or I can see it, then I may say, okay, this goes here and this goes here, and then have, because there's a part of me that wants to have like a order or a rhythm to it, and
That's
it's really
exciting.
hard to see when it's on the screen.
Mhm.
So I'm excited about it.
That's good. I haven't I go back and forth because I love writing. So, some days I'm like, oh, this is nice, but I don't like writing electronically. So
Mm,
I love writing my hand, like hand script. So what I've been doing actually since I started with you guys is pulling out all of my stuff and then speaking it into the system. But then you got to go back quickly and edit it, because when you use that dictation thing, it does its own little thing. So
mhm,
you got to go back while you have your thought and make sure that thought is there. So that
mhm,
takes a lot of time. And so I go back and forth. Some days I can electronically write, and then other days I just have to write it out and then go back and talk about it. I
mhm.
don't know what that is. I understand that it's a thing, so I don't feel too foreign.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think that there is, because I used to do that a lot, because there is something that is because of, I think we were raised with writing longhand.
yeah,
the
probably
the new
so.
generations that were writing or born with a
Typing.
tactile,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
that they are, I think that comes a lot easier for them. But
Mhm.
if there was a connection between the pen and the paper and us as we were growing up, that becomes our comfort.
Yeah.
um and so, yeah, but I think that I have like integrated myself enough that I can really, it's not to say that I don't have sheets of paper everywhere in my house, like where I just scribble down ideas and thoughts, but it is to say that Yeah, that I get it. I get that connected thing. So, but I try to type it because I don't want
Yeah.
to double work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, hey. All right. So I'm excited. I am going to press record because I want to record this instead of me trying to recreate it, because I'm really trying to get this up on the podcast, and it may be quicker for me to hit record than it is when I go back and have to download these. And yeah, so yeah. So,
Ta-da.
but what I won't do anymore is record these beginning sessions with. So you don't have to worry about coming into the room and it already be recording. So
Okay.
so good morning, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. And I am going. All right. So good morning and welcome to this week of Morning Glory. I am so excited to be here and to kind of like delve down on this. Sundays we have been, good morning, Nicia. We have been taking off on Sundays, and that Sunday sleeping in was just, again, just awesome. And I really kind of enjoy having the leisure time on that day. And I'm trying to talk Rhonda at our 5 a.m. group into doing Sundays off too. But you know, she's less resistant, or she's pretty resistant to
Pretty resistant, yeah.
like she can't pick up where she left off on Saturday on Monday instead of the next day. So I'll just continue to enjoy my Sunday mornings and in the bed, nice and yeah, just sleeping in. So I have actually disabled the alarm on my phone.
Oh, I did too.
Sundays. Yes. So that's nice. All right, so we are on page 206, and we are dealing with the fourth chakra, the heart chakra. And of course, we have, we can talk about the first chakra, second chakra, third chakra, but we have graduated to the fourth chakra. And we are dealing with this as it relates to, with that energy. And this is all about, what is it called? Oneself, when you are honoring yourself. Is that, is that what is that it? Yeah, because they have all these little, love is divine power, I think is what it says in here. But it is really, it's about loving yourself. So if the first one is to love tribe, the other one is about relationships.
The third is honor thyself.
Yeah, the third one is honor thyself. And then this one is love is divine. Okay. Okay, great. So we are here, and we left off on, after doing that first chapter on 206. And so I just want to pick up with here, because I think that this is really getting into some juicy stuff. And then we get into a story about Perry. She says, not surprisingly, our fourth chakra culture has seen a nationwide increase in divorce. The opening of the fourth chakra has transformed the archetype of marriage into the archetype of partnership. As a result, contemporary marriages require a strong sense of self for success, rather than abdication of self that was required for traditional marriages. So let me see if I can drill down on this for a second. Now, Stephanie has been married twice. I have not been married, but let me say it like this. This idea of you having to have a strong sense of self. A long time ago, I don't want to say a long time ago, last week, people were of this notion that they had to become one. And most of the time that meant that the woman was taking on the man's last name, a lot of stuff with the man, and the woman became sometimes women, and this might go for men too, but sometimes you lose yourself in the context of the marriage, and that sense of self is no longer there, because now you go from being a person to being a wife. And that might mean that I don't know how is defined in some households, but for me, when I was growing up, now I'm gonna be serious with y'all right here. I thought wife was like a 4-letter word. It was not something that I wanted to be. Because for me, what it seemed like was a wife was the workhorse of the house, the person who cooked the meals, who did the laundry, who took care of the kids, who whether it was pack the suitcases or pack the lunches. A wife seemed to me to be the workhorse of the house. And sure, dad went to work, but when he came home, he laid on the couch until dinner was ready, got up and ate dinner, and got back on the couch, and even used to call me from upstairs to come down and be the remote control, come all the way downstairs just to say, change the channel. Now, of course, people haven't had to be the remote in a long time, because all TVs now come with a remote automatically. But back in the day, you had to turn the channel, or you had to come down and adjust the antenna so that your dad could watch the TV. I don't know, but for me, I was not trying to be a wife. It was just no. So Stephanie is like listening to me like, yes, you need to be on the couch. But but seriously, I did not have the idea when I was growing up and seeing this. I did not have the idea that this was a nebulous position that you can redefine for yourself. I didn't go into it thinking to myself that, for me, everybody had a model, and that model looked like the Ozzie and Harriet stuff we saw on TV. And so I didn't want that for me. Just so you're clear, I didn't want that for me. So, and so when it says in here that this was, we saw it a lot of times, the model was an abdication of self. Mm-hmm. And then people break into their individual roles when they get into the context of marriage. Well, as that is changing, because divorce is so real now, you can say, yeah, I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. Right? You could say, yeah, this doesn't work for me. This doesn't fit for me. I had a friend of mine who, when I asked him about why he got divorced, you know what he said? Mm-hmm. He said to me, he was like, because I didn't get a say so on what was for dinner on any given night.
Oh, wow.
He was like, he says, imagine, and he says, I know that I'm breaking it down to just that. He says, but he says, I was in a house where you eat what I put on the table, basically. And he was like, and I was sick of that kind of situation. And I just thought, okay, if you wanted to use a metaphor for how his household was run, that was for him, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And my thing was, why don't you cook then? Shoot, you could solve that. Because my mother was the same way. She would say, I ain't no short order cook. You eat what I
She would
cook.
say that to your father too?
No, I don't know if she would.
Oh.
My dad was not one to complain.
Oh.
As long as there was cornbread on the table, he said it'd be okay. It was funny because I remember one time I was cooking something and my dad said something about it. He said, I never did like that. And I said, well, I never heard that before. And he was like, yeah, he says, well, okay. So my mother was, when I say she was a hellion, my mother was not one of those that you gonna tell, yeah, I don't like that. I ain't gonna eat that. If she cooked it, you eat or you don't eat. I don't know that there was an argument or a debate. It's like, I mean, meal planning is not easy, but I think you know
No,
that.
no, it's not. No, it's not. And there's always choices. I mean, but anyway, I mean, I get where your friend is coming from. And there is a sense of abdication. Um, it's interesting because my idea of marriage was we are doing this evolution journey together. And then when one of us, these are the languages of my exes, you was always wanting to evolve and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Both two men, two different men, they don't never talk to each other, say the exact same thing. It's like you always want to go, let's go higher. Let's go higher. Let's go further. Let's make more. Let's do more. And that is my journey. I do that to myself too. So I believe that we are supposed to grow like together into this place. And yeah. And then when you get to the place of I am me and you are you, it's like we should probably get a divorce. Because
That's
once I
funny.
become me and you become you, we look and be like, what are we doing? This is not a great idea anymore. You know, let's try, we'll do something different.
Okay.
But that was always my goal of just growing and evolving with a partner. But I can say with experience that when you have that mindset and you decide to choose you and that person becomes them, you give them that space to be who they are and you be who you are. That is the scariest ride, in my humble opinion. In 2010, I remember telling my girlfriend, well, one or two things are going to happen. We either going to have this blissful, amazing journey, the rest of it, or we going to go our separate ways and start to, live out our full selves because, trying to bring it together. Um, if you are truly who you are and I am truly who I am, is this going to be a thing? Because that's important. That is so important
Hmm.
because love won't let you let another person show up not their full self. It's like it feels uncomfortable. It's like, I want you to tell me the truth. I want you to be extremely naked, honest with me, because I'm going to be it to you. And when you're like that to someone else and they are not used to it or not comfortable with it, when you tell your truth, they shrink or they get irritated or they put you on silent. I call it emotional punishment, because how dare you tell me you don't like green beans? I don't like them. And I particularly, maybe I just don't like yours. Yes, you saw me eat my mother's, but I don't want your green beans. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes me not liking your green beans.
Hmm.
But I personally want to be in a connection where that level of transparency or telling the truth or being real is a thing. And so I'm always pushing for that, and trying to create a space of safety so that I can be me and you can be you. And then we can decide, can we still hang out and be okay? And
Yeah.
sometimes my experience has
Uh-huh.
been, it's been like, yeah, when I was trying to do it the right way, we get together and I abdicate or you abdicate, but that didn't work, especially not for two strong-willed people either.
Hmm.
That's it don't work.
But I'm wondering as I listen to you, I'm wondering because I'm open. I am an open and honest person, but that is because that's my choice. if I had somebody telling me that I had to tell them or that I have to be open and honest with them, I don't know that, I don't know that, because I share when I want to share. I will share what
Exactly.
I want to
So
share.
you're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that I sit down and declare, you tell me the truth. I'm saying you create an environment where you live your truth. You tell your truth. And if that person doesn't show up in their truth, life will show me, you're not, that person's not showing up in their truth. They're not telling me the truth. They're not, I have been right ever since, but I've discounted my right, my knower, when, oh, this person is not really happy. And then when I confront your happiness and you're like, oh, whatever, I'm fine or whatever. The reality is that, okay, you can say you're fine until you're not, but I'm not going to sit in that space because it's important to me to be in a space that's safe and real and truthful. And sometimes when people aren't sure that they're supposed to tell you the truth because it might hurt your feelings or whatever. Anyway, but
Yeah.
I just want to say that every situation is different, and that is
Mhm,
what I know for sure.
mhm.
Every situation is different, and it is not healthy to abdicate, and that's where I see a lot of marriages where people are ready to make that switch, and one person is ready to lean into that, you be you and I be me, and the other person is like, no, I need you to stay who you've been.
Yeah, that's hard too, right? Especially when, um, yeah, when who you have been is not where who you want to be.
Yeah.
And so I recognize there is an ebb and a flow with everything, right? In every relationship. And sometimes it's really good. I mean, I got this with friends. Because I got friends that are, we've been friends forever. And sometimes we go through a place where, where we're good and then sometimes it's a struggle.
Mm-hmm. I
It's
was going to say when you were talking that relationship dynamic is the same whether you put a
right,
ring on somebody's finger or not. That is human engagement.
right, right. And
Even in friendships, you got to make sure you don't abdicate.
yeah, and that's why I was saying that, because I know that at times they're just, I can't deal with, much as I may love you and adore you, but what was good last year may not be good this year for me, or what was good, you know, whenever, yeah, just okay, not no, right? And those are times when I kind of withdraw, I withdraw, and we can we can still occupy the same space, but it's like, yeah, no, not there, not there. So I get that there is that. So when she says that contemporary marriages require a strong sense of self for success, right? To how do I exist in a relationship and not lose me in the process? And so that's a real challenge for everybody.
Yeah.
The you-ness, how do you not lose who you are in the context of it? And so sometimes it means that we have to keep checking in so that we don't get it confused, because sometimes we are in the business of really trying to it's always interesting.
Please, the tribe.
Yeah, it's always interesting when people start talking about they have to walk on eggshells, or that for me, I'm always talking about boxes, how sometimes you're in a box and then that box seems to keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until the point where you feel like you can't move. And it's like, what's up with that? Right. And so then we have to step back, or I do at least anyway, and figure out, well, why is this? Why are the walls moving? What's the parameter? What am I running into that causes me to feel as if I'm in a smaller cell than I was before? And sometimes you can really pinpoint where the shift was made or where something began to happen. And sometimes it takes a little bit more work. So the symbolic meaning of the sacrament of marriage is that one must be in union with one's own personality and spirit first.
Mm-hmm.
After one has a clear inner understanding of oneself, one can create a successful, intimate partnership. So, but this is not necessarily how people get married now, is it? Right? This having a clear inner understanding of oneself first. Sometimes people are so busy wanting to be in relation because if and sometimes you go from one to the other without ever getting present with yourself. And so, but she's saying here that, to have a clear inner understanding of oneself, one can create a successful, intimate partnership. I often tell a story, just a quick aside, is I often tell a story about a friend of mine who was always grooming me. It just used to irritate me. And well, it didn't, because I didn't realize it until, because what was happening is that she would ask me questions like, would a minister wear that? Would a minister do such and such? Constantly trying to tell me about how I dressed, how I carried myself, the stuff that I said. And I remember driving down the street asking myself one time, would I do that if? And then I was like, whose voice is that? Right? I had to, where'd that come from? I seriously did. Because I was on Euclid when it happened. Where'd that come from? That's not me. And then I had to trace that voice back, and I said, that's whose voice that is. And now it has become a part of my dialogue. And I was like, it was like one of those things where you roll down the window and you toss it out the window, because that's no longer serving you, right? And so I had to get back to my truth. I had to, but it took me realizing that that's not my voice. Mm-hmm. Those are not my ideas, not my criticisms, not my stuff. And so a lot of times if you are, and that happens, and it's not just in your self grooming, but say, for instance, you've got a friend who likes to talk about people. And so then, because that becomes their pattern, you start preempting them. Did you see? Look, girl, look at that, right? And so you start mimicking the behavior of the people who are around you instead of saying, I don't do that, right? And so that becomes part of this, part of when we're in association with other people, we do tend to pick up habits or characteristics and then lose track of, wow, that really goes against who I am or my value system. So this idea of having a clear inner sense of who you are is so important.
It is. It's very important, and it will be challenged, especially as you deal with childhood wounds and you start to recreate a self, the third chakra, creating that balance. People, when you hear people, the third chakra is the area of balance. People think, oh, I need to balance my life, balance work, balance, but it's balancing of the self. It's balancing of the external and then the internal, like creating that balance, the beautiful balance of my internal self and my external self, and what I believe about me alone, separate from my tribe and society. And that's the beautiful balance that the third chakra would give us, to open the door to this place where we can lovingly choose us and you in the right way, in a wholesome way that keeps us healthy.
Yeah. So the increase in divorce is therefore rooted deeply in the opening of the fourth chakra, which draws people into self-discovery, sometimes for the first time, right? For the very first time. It's like, what do I like? Or who, can you imagine somebody who has been trudging along with somebody else for 25 years, and then all of a sudden they walk in and they say, I want a divorce, right? Now that they want a divorce, then the question is wow, okay, what now? It's almost like you feel like you've been dropped off on the side of the road, and now it's like, okay, what do I do now? Because your whole life has been built around something else and you don't even know who you are, right? It becomes hard. But if you are the one who started this process, then you also have the idea that, whoo, life is about to start now, right? It might be that you just dropped a load off on the corner.
Yes, but my own story, I didn't feel like I dropped a load off until a couple of years after the load was dropped. But yeah, so it's not instantaneous, but it will come. It is an experience, and you become very grateful for the journey. As a couple of people have said, I have been protected from the streets, the world, and people. I don't know what I feel about that, but as I'm out here by myself, just doing life and meeting people, I can feel that I was in a very protective place. But yeah, so I've had that experience. By the time I was 50, I had been married 25 years. That's half my life.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and I get it. It's, for some that was such an idyllic situation to be in, that you look for another place to land, because that, sometimes that feeling of of being on your own or being alone can be very disconcerting, and you like having somebody to lean on or fall back on, and so there's a certain security in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes on to say, many people ascribe the breakdown of their marriage to the fact that their spouse had given them no support for their emotional, psychological, and intellectual needs. And as a result, they had to seek out a true partnership. So, for many people, many people, they find that I'll tell you, I will tell you how I am, right? I got different friends for different things, very different things, right? I got a friend who I can talk about anything under the sun to without being judged or without anything, right? As a matter of fact, she'll encourage it. Oh, well, why don't you? I could tell her my deepest, darkest stuff, and never will I get a judgment or anything. It'll be just, just wonderful. Then I got friends who will like start building parameters about what they'll talk to me about. Well, if you're going to talk about him, I'm not talking to you. I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to be totally silent, because they're caught in their judgments about what I should be doing, right? Then I got friends that will, just challenge and question and blah, 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 blah. So I have friends that occupy different spaces in my life. Some of them will be emotional. Some of them will be, sometimes some of them are just professional. Some of them are, but they all serve a different purpose. But a lot of times when we have a mate, we think that they're going to give us all of these things, right? Everything. And when they don't, when they fall short, it's like,
Yeah. I don't know where that idea comes from, but I'm sure there's a lot of people like that.
yeah. Because there are, I mean, sometimes people are in relationships that have absolutely no intimacy in them.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that there isn't some other wonderful stuff that is there, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so you pick and choose what it is that you can
When
deal
you say intimacy, what do you mean? Because if there's wonderful stuff in it, that's a level of intimacy too. So what are you referring to when you say intimacy?
So we could be talking about physical intimacy, or we could be talking about emotional intimacy.
Okay. And then there's other wonderful things that are going on. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. You might get supported um not only in your like your dreams and ambitions, but you can also be supported in intellectually or in different pursuits, things that you don't find in other people. So sometimes it's a trade-off. Sometimes you can have, really intense, intimate sex stuff and then not have, and he'd be dumb as a rock, not stimulate you intellectually, or I mean,
Yeah,
there's
I just wanted to get clarity.
there's all kinds of things around the way, but you have to figure out what's most important to you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because some people don't have a sense of humor, and you want to laugh a little bit, so people have different things that they feel are important. I remember one time this comedian asked me, and right, like I'm sitting up by the stage, and he asked me, he was talking about the three most important things in his thing, and he was asking me what was my three most important things, and I sat there like a deer in the headlight, like, right, whatever I say is going to be a laugh line, right? Nasia said that humor is huge for her, right? um so I had people screaming at me saying sense of humor, and I'm thinking like, I don't know if it's a sense of humor. I love intellectual stimulation. I love being able to have a conversation and somebody be able to go there with me.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, it would be nice to have good sex and intellectual communication, and a sense of humor, and you want to say all these ands, but when you're talking about three most important things, I was like,
I was gonna say that was a moment to make you think, because I'm like, okay,
yeah.
I don't know if I could narrow it down to three, but three most important. Yeah, we could learn to do that. That would be important. That would be important when we make our choices too. Um, with becoming aware of the three most important things in any connection. What's important to me in this connection? And when I say important, it's like, how do I, this is Stephanie, how do I want to feel? Because I know that feeling is the thing that changes the neurons in the brain. So if you got trauma and baby wounds and all of that, if you don't monitor how you feel, you won't change. You'll just keep associating with the same type of jokers, whether you sleeping with them or you friends with them or you whatever. You'll pay attention to the pattern of the people who show up in your life, because you're not paying attention to how the connection has you feeling. A lot of times we keep it up here, and oh well, that we intellectualize a lot of our connections. And so if we could ask ourselves that, I think the three most important things, if there's 10, that's great, and then navigate our love connections accordingly. I don't know. That would be yeah, it would be interesting to see what that experience would be like.
Yeah, so let me give you an example. This past weekend, there was a guy who stepped up to me, right? And he was busy. He had this little speech, and I've been watching you for years. I've been in attracted to you, and blah 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 blah. And he just, and it was almost like I felt like this freight train coming at me, and I was like, there was this thing of I could feel my hair going, and I was thinking to myself like, Yeah, I started thinking like, I felt that way. And then I was like, yeah, not now. And then he was like, he says, are you going to put off your happiness? And I said, you can't make me happy. I said, I was happy when you walked over here. I'll be happy when you leave. I said, my happiness is not going to come from you. And then he was like, all right, I get that. But I was like, oh, dude, like, yeah, not now. So when you talk about when you were talking about feelings, I am not one that I could feel that overwhelm. I was like, I felt like I just wanted to push him back out. Like, yeah, go. Right? Go. And I didn't have words for it because I felt overwhelmed.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All I knew is I need to get you up out of my space. So when you say, how did that make me feel? Yes, now I can articulate. It made me feel.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when we have trauma or childhood wounds, we get that overwhelming feeling. And if we're not self-aware, two things happen. We override the feeling, ignore it, keep engaging in whatever the stuff is about that, or we push it away, have visceral reactions, and never go back and take a look in the mirror and say, who was that? What was that? Where'd that come from? And so then we just keep having those experiences because life is going to do what it's going to do to help us turn towards ourselves and look in the mirror. At least that's been
Well,
the experience I've had over the last 20 years of doing what I do. But it's just, we got to turn to ourselves, but we don't think about what we're feeling. We think about all the external stuff, what they look like, what they smell like, how much money they got, what kind of dinner they took us to. We don't pay attention to like,
well, you know what?
oh, I don't want that.
Yeah, one of the things that I know very clearly, and somebody else has pointed this out because they pointed it out about my brother. None of us in our family, my siblings and I, are people who argue. We don't have that kind of personality. And the moment somebody starts with the anger or that stuff, by and large, most of us are, we get real quiet. I have one brother who comes across in a nice, smooth, easy kind of thing, but it is one of those like, don't push this, right? I've got another who just seems to, I'm one. I am not an arguer. It's more like I clam up, I get quiet, and in my quietness, I'm making decisions about you. Right? Because this can be, because in that moment, depending upon what's said and how I feel, that might be a deal breaker for me. I'm not one that, yeah, you are not going. There are certain things that you will never see me in a relationship with a guy who will call me out of my name. That's a deal breaker. You'll be bounced out before you end good. Bounce, dude. Because never do I accept disrespect. That's that. And when people talk about certain deal breakers, yeah, that's just not something that's gonna happen. So, and you might ask, where'd that come from? I don't know. I didn't grow up with that. I didn't grow up with that. I didn't grow up seeing that. And I don't, because if you'll call me a name, you'll probably do some other stuff to me. I just, yeah, nope. And even if you think it's a cute name, I'm gonna tell you, I don't like bimbo. I
No.
don't call me that. Don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, don't call me. No.
But we all have our own right to create our own boundaries.
Right.
And the boundaries are just that, they're ours. And just learning to honor that is the beauty of the third chakra of myself. And then then that keeps this part open, because if you're in a space where somebody is calling you a name and that you're not down for that, what that does is it closes up that energy field. It's like, oh, and so now I need you to get away from me because I need to keep this open. And so, yeah, it makes sense that you say you got to stay away, because this happens when that have that experience. If you can feel your heart space, but if you externalizing, then you won't. But your heart space, the goal is to keep it open. So as we keep it open, we have to then honor our boundaries, or realize that we don't have boundaries, and realize what will it take to make the boundaries? What will it take to get clear? Those questions that she asked us on page 205, those are like the most powerful questions to me in the world. Those are great mirror questions. Like, those questions are good for us, so that keeps our heart open. And when people shrink or abdicate, a lot of times it's the heart space that gets closed. Because we can function externally all day long.
So let's go back over these questions. With or without anyone else playing a primary role, a person needs to know: 1, what do I like? 2, what do I love? 3, what makes me happy? 4, what do I need for balance? 5, what are my strengths? 6, what can I rely? I'm sorry. Can I rely upon myself? 7, what are my weaknesses? 8, why do I do the things that I do? 9, what makes me need the attention and approval of others? 11, am I strong enough to be close to another and still honor my own emotional needs?
And that honoring your own emotional needs doesn't mean that the person that you're in a relationship with get to treat you any kind of way and I just honor my emotional needs. No, if that person is not helping to assist in facilitating that feeling that you need emotionally, you have to renegotiate the connection. Because what happens is your heart closes. It's like the energy just goes in. It's still rattling around in there, but it's not big. It's not that expansive force that you were talking about a few weeks ago. You won't be able to bring it out like this, because you'll be always worried about somebody bumping into these questions that you don't have answers for.
Right. And so and that's when we start creating, or our boxes get smaller and smaller.
We start hiding
walls and all of this other stuff, because we don't want them to touch that again.
Yeah.
Right. And so, okay, I'm not going to go down that street, because I know that street has got, craters and pitfalls and all of these opportunities for this person to damage.
Right. And it's so sensitive that we got to be careful, because we'll start hiding it from the world. Like, this is the biggest area of our lives that get blocked off and covered. This is the full self that goes and hides, and then we create managers around it: drug addiction, sex addiction, work, our talents, and whatever. And so we keep our capital S selves hidden. I always see that person hidden under a desk. And then it's these little blocks around it: the managers, the firefighters, and everybody else that's doing the work for us. And we run under the table because we don't have the answers to this, and we don't want people to bump into, as Ruel McWee, or however you pronounce his name, the scars, that the scars, and we don't want people to touch them, so we run. And what we're doing is keeping this space closed. And like I said, we stay in this external place where I got a kingdom, I got this, I got that, but you ain't really loving nobody. Your heart ain't open to be loved or hurt. But you're externally, you got it going on. You got it going on. But when you try to step into
All right. And so let's so the questions are different. I'm going to read this and then we can jump back to where we were. Those are different from those of the tribal mind, which teaches us, what do I like in relation to others? How strong can I be while still remaining attractive to others? Ooh, that's a big one.
That
For
is very big.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What do I need from others in order to be happy? These are different because it's always externalizing your happiness, and it's not necessarily owning it like those other questions we did, owning it for yourself. These are what do I need from others in order to be happy? As if, like that guy was saying, like I needed him to be happy. Like, no, dude, I was happy when before you stepped over here. So, you just back up. So what will I have to change about myself in order to get someone to love me? And this all comes back to, at one day, you've shrunk so small, you've hidden under your desk, you've done all these other things, and then one day you start thinking like, whoa, where am I in this scenario? What about me? What about me? And when you start to ask that question, then you begin to do something different. Very good. And I see it say, go, Stephanie. So, and Stephanie is like, this is what I do. This is what I do
every day.
um,
Yeah, I got the school of knowledge, higher school. What is it? Knox.
yeah.
I had, I lived the journey here.
Right. Yeah. I forget how, yeah, that's the School of Hard Knocks
Hard
or
knocks.
something else. There's another.
I say the University of Me.
Yeah, and I think that so often we, in the context of things that are going on, we don't always turn around and look at the situation. I don't know that number. We don't always turn around and look at the situation and think about it, like you said, in those terms, in that context. Sometimes we just know that we're not happy, right? We know that, and then usually we take it and we think that it's us, right? We just think,
And then you got the other end where people blame. Like if so and so would just cook enough bacon, I'd be happy. That's external. But people break it down like your friend said, to the least that's their I didn't get a say in what we ate. So that's where you can go with that. If you're not going to the fourth chakra, that's where you can go with that.
So many people ascribe the breakdown of their marriage to the fact that their spouse had given them no support for their emotional, psychological, and intellectual needs. And as a result, they had to seek out a true partnership. So the opening of the fourth chakra has also changed our consciousness about our health, healing, and the causes of illness. Whereas disease was once thought of as caused by essentially lower chakra sources like genetics and germs, we now view the origin of disease as stemming from toxic emotional stress levels.
Yes, scientific studies all over the place.
Okay, so wait a minute. Let me, little thing here. Yesterday, I'm talking to my cousin, which is what I do a couple of nights a week. We sit on the phone and chit chat because we do exercise together online. She's in Seattle. I'm here, and so last night she says to me, "Did you see that report that just came out?" And she was like, "Of the most stressful places to live in America." And I said, no, I didn't. And she was like, do you know Cleveland, Ohio is #1, the most
believe it.
stressful city in America?
I can believe it. That's probably why when I got here, I was like, oh my God, I made a mistake. What have I walked into? Shoo, just passed. I just cut through the veil. Like,
Oh my God. Ah,
oh, but I'm so happy to be here, universe. I wouldn't trade nothing for I get it though. Woo.
yeah, when she said that, I just, there was just like, yeah, like, like substantiating what it is that, a lot of times you
It's
feel
energy.
around.
Yeah, you feeling it. Yes, yes.
Um, and it's like, how do you quantify that or whatever? But we know that it is real. It is real.
Yes, yes. Lots of work to do.
And they always talk about how this place has world-class healthcare systems. Well, there's a reason why we have a Cleveland Clinic and a university and all of
Right,
these other
right,
hospitals
right. You
clustered
can't exactly.
right here.
They what ascended upon us like, okay, we can
Yeah,
make money and help you.
yeah. It's almost like they got a automatic drip of toxicity that is right here that they could just kind of keep making money off of.
Girl.
And so without recognizing that, this
Oh,
environment,
I got goosebumps. But
yeah.
then Holy Spirit life said, yeah, but in 1967, I don't know what year you were born. I got a plan for that. There's a there's a plan for that. I have a plan for that. This is not called life off guard.
Uh-huh.
But it's true. It's true. And that's
Yeah.
okay. That's all
Yeah.
right. I'm here.
So
You're here. And a lot of other people who are here want to shift the energy around this place. Yeah.
yeah, with a big S on our chest.
Yes.
Maybe that's what we should have named the show, S on our chest. I don't know. Anyway, so she says we now view the origin of disease as stemming from toxic emotional stress levels. Healing begins with the repair of emotional injuries. Our entire medical model is being reshaped around the power of the heart.
Mm.
And I think that, yeah, this is the work to be done.
It is. I'll share a quick example. So I do this process called hold to release with couples. So after we work together for a little bit, then I can tell couples who don't touch, who don't have a physical level of intimacy, but they manage their lives well, whatever. And so I'll have this experience where, you need to hug each other until somebody releases. So, the person who wants to release tries to hold on tight, but they really want to let go like right away. And so they'll be holding on to their arms instead of holding on to the person's body. Like, they'll hold on to their hug around the neck, hug, but they'll be holding on to themselves, not the person. And so then you have to, experience letting them, give them permission to release. But the whole time in between all of those noticings, you have them have a thought or pay attention to the thought in their head and then drop it into their heart space. And it's just amazing to watch people's physical bodies who are really like, I want this. How when you say, go from your head, and I want you to drop that into your heart space, they're holding each other, and you can watch people melt in. Those who are doing it together that want it, the melting is almost like I can just see it. I can just see the energy just coming together. But it's not until I say, drop that into your heart. pull it down to your heart space. Feel it in there. Feel it in there. And then you can see the melting of the two becoming one, like in that space. And then you can also see when you say drop it into your heart space, where the one person is dropping into their heart space and the other person is like this. They can't get there. And so this person is here and their heart is melting and it's sliding like that. It's just awesome. It's amazing to watch. But I know that this energy space is a real thing, and we have to nurture it, and we have to teach people to get clear in that area. It's just it's magic in that space.
You know that, and that's really interesting because you know, I told you guys about before when I was taking those intuitive classes about how we drop our thoughts into our heart. And I didn't really realize that the heart has an intellect all its own that's different from the intellect that's in our head. And so when I discovered that it's a good way of allowing me to tap into people. But I'm wondering what that would be like if you were trying to really be intimate with somebody, to really just kind of get them to, because they pass right over the heart, right into the penis.
There you go.
You know,
it's just like that. Yes.
They just keep it going down. And as a matter of fact, I think that that's one of the things we see over and over in our relationships is that the moment you touch somebody or put their hands on them, it's no longer thinking with the big head, it's thinking with the little head. And so it's,
that's a whole nother section.
Yeah, they just bypass that whole heart stuff. And you're in your heart and you're wanting to have that connection from your heart. And it's like, no, it just.
Yeah, because if you have tribal stuff going on and external stuff going on, you're not going to go there. You got to get clear in that area. Getting clear, those questions, getting clear so that touch doesn't always have to go to that spot. That touch it can radiate up and through you. That one touch can radiate like this. But sometimes when it's getting stuck, it's because that's where we're stuck.
So I don't know how to that would be an interesting thing of getting somebody to get out of that, you know. Yeah. I just want to plug in. I just want to I don't want to, you know.
I want to do all of that.
Yeah, I don't want to connect. I want to plug.
It's so true. Even the book Pussy talks about being able to connect the heart to that lower chakra in order for it to be real intimacy, because we can all go through the motions. But if you can't connect the heart space, even if it's just a casual sexual experience or getting together or hanging out with friends, if you can't bring those two together, there's the blockage. Like, it all works together.
Yeah, this is the work to do.
It is the work to do.
Yeah, and yeah, okay. This is the work to do.
That's why I thought, oh, this would be so good. Like, this is just yummy. This part right here is good.
Yeah. Okay. So the following story reflects this shift. I met Perry, a physician, in one of my workshops. Perry had an enormous practice, which generated the typical level of professional and personal stress. When the medical community became flooded with the information on alternative theories and practices, Perry read bits and pieces, but continued prescribing conventional treatments for his patients because he did not know enough about alternative treatments to recommend them. About 5 years ago, this book was written 20 years ago.
Yeah, and it's 8:28, so it's 8:28, so you can mindful.
All right, so y'all, we're gonna have to finish this story about Perry because I don't want to get too far into it and then have to,
Can't discuss it.
yeah, have to cut off the discussion. So we will pick up here tomorrow with Perry. But I know that hopefully you have, you know, sometimes when we present this information, we're not presenting it with all of the, you know, this is how to do it, because, you know, there is no set way on how to do it. Sometimes what we're doing is that we're maneuvering our ways through it, right? Um, and as wonderful as this, you know, is like, yeah, hold to release kind of thing. All of these things sound, it's one thing when you got Stephanie sitting up there and telling you to do it and y'all
Yeah.
doing it. It's a whole different thing when you get in the bedroom and it's just the two of y'all.
Right. Oh
They,
yeah.
yeah. They do the Mr. Roper thing on you and be you
Sleep.
turn your back and they snoring. I mean, that's the real of it,
It's
right?
true. Yeah, yeah. And there's just that's why I think this is good, because this area of our lives is so important. It's
Yeah.
the magic. I just believe that it's the work to do. But
Yeah,
yeah.
you got to have two willing partners, and if you don't have,
But that's how you find out. You got to be willing to push in and check the heart space. And people are afraid, because if I find out what you really think or feel, now I got to do something. And
is,
that's scary too.
yeah.
That's
Well,
too, you
but
know?
you know, but part of that is I'm just wondering, you know, like this seems like the work of a lifetime. It doesn't necessarily seem like
All of this is
something that
work of a
we
lifetime.
can get in a 3-month courtship, right? So we can make a decision and then move on to the next. It's not something that happens right away. Sometimes it is that we got to linger for a while
Be
and who's to
okay.
say, yeah, who's to say that we'll ever get here? But what you will find out too, I think maybe is that those who will recoil from you automatically,
Yes.
those that are willing to,
Take the journey.
yeah, like, okay, let's see, right? Been here before, been down this road before. I fell into a pothole a couple of times, but I ain't scared. You know,
I
sometimes,
like you pretty much. Let's see how this goes.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah. All right, y'all. So I thank you for
Ew.
this conversation and for being here.
Yes. Good
What a
morning.
wonderful, it's a marvelous Monday.
It
And
is a
so,
marvelous Monday.
yeah, we are wishing you all the best today. We will be here tomorrow, same time, and
Yes.
we will pick up with Perry when we come back.
All right.
All right.
Have a great day.
Blessings. All right. You too. See ya. This is good.